Hi. Sorry. I was muted for a
Thank-
second.
Thanks for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Cool. We'll probably give it another minute or two while people just trickle in and I mute some of my alerts. um, and yeah, this should be really fun. I got my pen and my paper. And,
Perfect.
and while people are trickling in, just a few, I'll go over some of these housekeeping items as well, but you will want to have, probably a pen, a piece of paper. I mean, you can use your keyboard or something like that if you're at your computer, but I find it a little easier to think when I have pen and paper, and that way you'll be able to keep your screen on and engaging with Ayja as she does some things, but and leads us through some stuff tonight. But also I would recommend, I'll probably drop off my video and we'll keep it on speaker view. Usually we like to do gallery views just so we can see what's going on with folks, but I think we'll kind of toggle maybe between speaker view and gallery view a few times. There might be some opportunities to share out and things like that. So this is going to be bear with us. It's going to be a little bit more interactive than some of our other, presentations, which is really exciting. So, yeah, we'll give it a few more minutes here. And any questions from you, Grace or Ayja, as we get into it?
I was just going to say, as everyone kind of trickling in, if you have any kind of questions through the event or comments, there's the chat box or chat option in Zoom. So if you go into the bottom of your screen, you'll see a chat feature. And so we'll be definitely putting some different actions and links for you and questions in that chat box. So definitely have that pulled up. And then don't be afraid to add comments or questions as we kind of go through tonight.
Cool. Well, let's get rolling here. So thanks everybody for coming to our second Save Our Canyon speaker series. Tonight we have Ayja Bounous joining us to lead a little workshop on place-based writing. And as we've written at Save Our Canyons a few times, and if you get our newsletters, which if you don't, please sign up at saveourcanyons.org. We've talked about the need for a new narrative for our relationships with landscapes, not just in the Wasatch, but probably with the land and water and air and other elements in general. So Ayja's going to help us with that and kickstart, starting a new narrative for the Wasatch, or as someone wrote in Mountain Journal a month or two, 4 ago now, I guess, time's flying, but a new myth for our relationship with the land that can kind of inform our perspectives and our values, and hopefully we'll be able to do some storytelling. So before I hand it over to Ayja real quick, we are going to keep it pretty light on the substance of our campaigns tonight. Of course, if you do have questions near the end, I'm happy to field any questions about things that are going on in the Wasatch. And we'll have a few moments at the end, I think. But I did want to just draw your attention to two quick things. There's some big decisions, big discussions happening regarding transportation in the Wasatch right now. And there's a UDOT Little Cottonwood Canyon EIS and the Central Wasatch Commission Mountain Transportation System. Both of these projects, whatever happens, that they could fundamentally change the Wasatch as we've known it for generations. And so it's really important to be involved in those processes. please sign up for our email alerts. To go to saveourcanyons.org, and you can easily sign up for emails, follow us on social media, but you're going to get a little bit more substance from us in our emails than you are on social media. So I would really encourage folks to follow us and sign up for those emails from us. The second thing is there's an opportunity to protect the Wasatch and get some federal legislation to permanently protect the Central Wasatch Mountains, the National Conservation and Recreation Area. We have a petition also on our website, and I would encourage you to look at the maps and look at some of the details about the proposal, and consider please signing that petition so we can tell local elected leaders and our congressional delegation that protecting this place permanently from development is a high priority, and we need people to do that. I guess, you know, signing up for our emails, signing petitions, taking these actions is incredibly important, because protecting the Wasatch is not a spectator sport. We need engagement, and with that, we have a really cool way to try and engage in the discussions today by doing some exercises, doing some writing. And I'm really excited to have Ayja. She wrote a beautiful book on her relationship with the snow and the Wasatch and how it shaped her life, and couldn't be more excited to have Ayja Bounous with us, leading us through, sharing some of her perspectives and helping us and enrich our relationship with the land. So with that, put your go up to the top right corner, hit speaker view, and take it away, Ayja. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carl, and thanks, Grace. I'm really excited to be here. And I did write a book shaped by snow. That's what it looks like. And it's kind of about my personal relationship to the Wasatch, and how the Wasatch Front and the snow here has kind of shaped who I am as a person. It shaped my family. I come from kind of like a few generations of early Utah skiers. And actually my grandfather, Junior Bounous, today I got to ski with him at Alta. He's 95 years old. And today was his 50th day skiing. And my dad was following behind him with like a little app that tracks how fast they go. And they hit 47.9 miles per hour. So if you round up, that's 50 miles per hour on the 50th day of the season for Junior. So that was really cool to be a part of. But I grew up right at the base of Little Cottonwood Canyon. The Wasatch Mountains they feel as much a part of me as my own skin. And so my book kind of just explores some of the threats to both the Wasatch and the snow in the Wasatch, through climate change and through humans' overall impact on the earth. And so I am very interested in how the power of story can kind of like open up our eyes to the issues at hand in a really like multi-dimensional way and interactive way. And so I created this kind of like storytelling workshop to see if we can kind of like create a new narrative around climate change and around our impact on the Wasatch. And so I'll be giving a few writing prompts. So if you have a pen and a piece of paper, this is the time to grab them. There should be a link that will get posted in the comment section soon. And if you click on that link, it'll take you to a page. It'll say make a copy, and click make a copy. And it'll take you to a Google Doc page that will have all of the prompts and everything. So you can also type out your answers in there. I won't be able to see it. You can just save it if you want to, keep it for later, So also I've got like 3 things open on my computer screen right now. So just bear with me if I'm kind of like moving them around. So yeah, I'm interested in how we can use the power of story to imagine a different future than the current present that we're living in. And we've been living in a time that's been defined by a certain narrative. It's a narrative that's been around since basically the start of Western culture and modern Western civilization. And I say modern, but really that could go back like hundreds, if not thousands of years. And part of that narrative includes the idea that we can do whatever we want to the earth and we don't really have to worry about the consequences of our actions, either on the ecology, the landscape, other animals living on those landscapes, and even other humans, human communities dependent on them. So, and like an example of that would be humans need energy to survive. In order to get energy, we need to harvest it from the earth. And if we have to kind of like stomp all over the landscape, the animals, and even other humans in order to get that energy, then it's kind of just like, too bad, that's the way it is. And so like, when you hear phrases kind of like, that's just the way things are, or that's just human nature, or that's just the way it is, those are just phrases that are playing into this narrative that we're so ingrained in that we can't imagine what things would be like outside of that narrative. Many people, including me, believe that in order to kind of like survive the next, survive through climate change and to save places that we love, like the Wasatch, we kind of need to break through that narrative and change it and create a new narrative, or a myth, as some people call it. And so how do we create a new myth? It's no easy task because, as I said, our culture and society is so ingrained in this myth that it's going to be really hard to break out of it. And in order to even get out of it, we need to activate our imaginations to picture an alternate way of living and interacting with our surroundings. And I think that this is where storytelling and art can really help us. Stories can disassociate from the current narrative we're currently living in, and we can use stories to imagine a new one. And specifically, place-based storytelling is really important here because it'll help ground us in the landscapes that we're trying to save, while still picturing, while using our imaginations to like see like, okay, what can we do with this landscape 100 years in the future? Because obviously if we're going the way that we're still going right now, our landscapes are going to really be negatively impacted 100 years in the future, / maybe we can't even appreciate them anymore. And so this is the part where I'm going to start giving out a few writing prompts. Some of them are intended to help you kind of ground yourself in a place, in a location, and others are a little bit more out of the box. They're, meant to kind of like spark your imagination. They might seem a little strange to some people. I had a lot of fun creating them, so hopefully you guys enjoy responding to them. But my intention with these questions is to kind of like stimulate our imagination so we can break through that old narrative and start creating a new one that imagines a more symbiotic relationship with the Wasatch. And once I give you the prompt, you'll have a certain amount of time to complete it. Some of them are only a minute long, others are 30 seconds, some are 2 to 5 minutes, and just do the best that you can. I've kind of kept them short, on the shorter side, for time's sake. And 1 minute, trying to like write in the span of 1 minute is gonna feel really quick. So if you don't get to them, or like you don't really write anything that like world changing, don't worry about it. You can always come back to them later if you feel like it. And then also all of the prompts will be in the Google file that I shared. So like I said, if you want to just click on the link and fill them out, that's totally fine. If you want to write them down on a piece of paper, we'll also be posting every prompt in the comment section as I go. So if I say something and you're like, what did she say? Just refer to the comment section or click on that Google Doc link. So yeah, let's get started. I'll also be writing too, so let's see. So to start us off with some place-based stuff, oops, 1 second. So for 1 minute, I'm going to have you guys write a paragraph and begin each sentence of that paragraph with either I am from or I live in, depending on which one you vibe the most with. So 1 minute is starting now. All right, and that is 1 minute. Sorry, the 1 minute ones go very quickly, but not all of them will be that short. All right, prompt number 2. Picture one of your favorite places in the Wasatch. And this favorite place can be kind of like any place that you've gone to. You may have only gone to it once. You may have gone to it so many times you can't count. Just some place that holds a really powerful memory for you. And I want you to describe this place in as much detail as you can in 2 minutes. If you have the time, include what this place looks like in every season. If you don't have the time, just try to describe it as quick as you can. Okay, and ready, go. All right, that is 2 minutes. I'm going to give you a 1 minute bonus question here. You can either continue to describe this place if you want to, but if you feel like doing something else, list as many things that inhabit this place as you can and be specific. List the types of birds, the types of flowers, man-made structures, anything like that. And you'll get a minute to do that. Starting now. All right, and then take another 30 seconds to, what is the scent, song, sound, color, feeling, or taste that reminds you of that place? And again, if you just want to keep describing the place, if you've got a flow going, just keep describing it. That's totally fine. 30 seconds, starting now. And take another 30 seconds to write down the names of everyone you've ever been in this location with. 30 seconds to write down names, or continue your flow of writing. Start now. All right, moving on to the next prompt. I'll want you guys to list a few things you consider magical about this place that others might consider mundane about it. And for this, I was going to give you a minute, but let's do 2 minutes for this one. So again, list a few things about this place that you consider magical that others might consider mundane. 2 minutes, starting now. All right. Just finishing up a sentence. Okay. Now for this next one, I'd like you to imagine a story that could happen in this place that you've been thinking about. It could be a story about your family or about you. It could be a story about a stranger. It could be a story that could happen in the future, or perhaps it happened in the past. It could be a story that spans across centuries or thousands of years or millennia. It could be a story about animals, or it could be a story about just the place itself, the rocks, the atmosphere, whatever. And my prompt for you, this one, is to write either a beginning or an ending to the story, or both if you can manage it. And it can be a page, it could be a paragraph, it could be a sentence. It is kind of whatever you feel inspired to do, whatever you can manage. And you'll have 3 minutes to do this one. So I would say maybe if you can take a minute to just think about what a story in this place might be, and then take 2 minutes to write down either a beginning or an ending or both. And let's actually say 4 minutes for this one. 4 minutes starting now. All right. So for this next prompt, I'd like you all to close your eyes. I'm going to take you through a little bit of a guided meditation before you start to write. So go ahead and close your eyes and picture that you are in the nearest creek, stream, or lake to this place that you've been writing about. Trace that water to its source if you're not already there. And even if you've never been to its source, create a vision in your head of what it might look like. Is it surrounded by pine trees? Is it deep or is it shallow? Is it below the tree line or above the tree line? Is there moss lining the rim of the rocks, half submerged? Is there a field of wildflowers nearby? Now, imagine that you are a rubber ducky that someone has placed in the water at this source. Imagine yourself floating downstream through the mild rapids of the canyons. Are you passing beneath pines or aspen? Are there granite boulders lining the shores that you pass? Are you traveling east towards Heber or west towards the Salt Lake Valley? You emerge from the canyon into the arid valley. You might pass under a few large roads by means of concrete arches, or you might immediately enter into a concrete tunnel and you might not see the sun for quite some time. Then you meet a confluence and suddenly you're swept into the Jordan River or perhaps the Provo or Bear Rivers. At this time, you might take a brief break in the Utah Lake. You keep flowing northward until you're funneled into wetlands surrounded by long golden grasses and distant mountains. There are many other birds and ducks all around you, though they're not the yellow rubber kind. Finally, after much meandering in these wetlands, perhaps getting stuck in the reeds here and there, you wind up in the proper Great Salt Lake, where you drift aimlessly for the rest of eternity. Open your eyes. In 2 minutes, I'd like you to write a chorus of the song about your journey. And you get a bonus point if you can think of an accompanying tune. So, 2 minutes, starting now. All right. Now for this next one, I want you to create a superhero who originated from this place that you've been picturing. And similar to Black Panther from Wakanda or Superman from Krypton, this superhero kind of needs to be ingrained in this place that you've been picturing. And I'd like for you to describe the superhero's strengths and weaknesses And it can be a fictional superhero, or if it seems like you already know a superhero that has originated from this place, you can also describe him or her. And you'll get, let me see, let's do 3 minutes for this one. And that will start right now. All right, and then take another 2 minutes to describe her arch nemesis. Or, sorry, not necessarily her, but your superhero's arch nemesis. 2 minutes for an arch nemesis, and start. Okay, for your next prompt, if you had an animal sidekick from this place, what would it be and why? And you will get 1 minute for this one. So take a second to think about it and let's begin. All right. Now for this next one, if you were to make a scavenger hunt for yourself across the Wasatch that ended at this location, what would the final clue have to say in order to help you find it, find the place, the location? And you'll have 1 minute for this one as well. And that will start right now. All right. And then prompt number 9 is fashion yourself a ballroom gown, tuxedo, or a favorite outfit of yours, or a costume for your superhero by using materials from this place. And you can feel free to describe your outfit in words or draw it out on a piece of paper. And you'll have 1 minute. Okay, on to the final prompt. Hopefully that has stimulated your imaginations. So for this last one, we're going to focus on creating a new myth that we can use. I'd like to keep a few questions. I'd like for you to keep a few questions in the back of your mind as you go through this next prompt, which will get posted onto the comment section. You don't have to answer these questions. I'd just like to keep them, for you to keep them in your mind as you write. I'm not gonna read them aloud. We'll just post them onto the comments for time's sake. So to start off this prompt, I'd like for you to refer to your answer from the second prompt, which is where you described this location in detail. And I would like you to choose 4 words from your description of this place. And then I'm going to give you 4 more words. And in this next prompt, I would like you to use the 4 words that you used to describe this location and these 4 pretty random words that I'm going to give to you. And I would like you to let's spend 10 minutes writing about this place 100 years, the place that you've been writing about 100 years from now, using the 4 words from your earlier description and the 4 words that I'm going to give to you. I'd encourage you to write through the lens of this new myth that we're trying to create, of what this place could look like in 100 years if we can create a new narrative, rather than what it will look like in 100 years if we keep going down the direction that we're going right now. So overall, I want this to be a positive writing experience. I want your vision to be one of like best case scenario. We can change the way that we're interacting with the Wasatch. We can change the way that we're interacting with our climate. And you can just, for this one, you can choose to describe this place. You can choose to tell a story in this place. You can choose to write a beginning or an ending, or you can choose to place your superhero or your sidekick in this place and kind of let them roam free. It's kind of whatever you're feeling. You can draw it, you can write a song about it, you can write a poem about it. Feel free to, you know, kind of have with it what you will. And you are going to get, I said 10 minutes, let's make it 9 minutes for time's sake. And that's going to start right now. I realized that I never gave you the 4 words that I was supposed to give you. So the 4 words are resilient, chandelier. Oh wait, no, these are the old words. I'm sorry. The 4 words are, I'm really sorry about this, reclaim, indigo, chandelier, and ensnare. Very sorry about that. All right, that is the time. Time is up. And yeah, if you guys would like to share anything that you wrote at this point, this would be the time. Don't feel pressured to. I think that you can just comment in the comment section if you'd like to share. So coming through this kind of like exercise, hopefully you guys had a good time doing some writing. Hopefully it kind of like pushed you outside of your normal sphere of thinking. I would encourage everyone to try to take this new kind of myth or narrative that we were focused on creating tonight and maybe using it to like write to your senators or representatives and tell them about a vision of your future. Also, if you feel inspired to continue any of the stories or any of the thoughts that you started creating tonight, feel free to like send them to myself, send them to Save Our Canyons. I'd love to read what you guys wrote tonight. There's also this cool fiction writing contest that's happening. Not that you had to write fiction tonight, but if you felt inspired to write it, Grist magazine is kind of hosting a fiction contest about picturing basically what we did tonight of creating a vision that is 180 years in the future and looking at it from like a positive way, because a lot of times when we think about climate change, when we think about the pressures that we're putting on the landscapes that we love, it's always really kind of like dark and depressing, and we're just thinking of like the worst case scenario. And in order to kind of like picture ourselves in the best case scenario, we have to create those narratives and the stories to be able to like see what would this best case scenario be, because right now we don't even really have the like means of seeing what that scenario is. So I think that, going outside of the box in situations like these can be really helpful, and hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Yeah, I don't know if we have any questions or comments or anything that you guys want to talk about before we.
Yeah, so I think folks, if anyone wants to raise their hand or using the hand raise, or just unmute and share back or ask a question, we certainly have a few moments to do that now. I see Roger. Did Roger have something to share? Okay. Cool. Well, I'll share. Let's see. I'm trying to find my chorus. I don't know. Aurora and I here wrote about a crystal breathing dragon that blanketed the Wasatch with fresh snow near our favorite candelabra tree in the Wasatch. And he enlisted the help of a pika because dragons are so big. They can't be very incognito. They're pretty noticeable. So the pika helped run interference on the ground and did the ground game to help restore and rally the community while the dragon was breathing his snowy crystals.
Love it. Love it. My superhero was Wendy of the Wasatch. And I imagine that everyone always tries to call her Wendy. And she's like, no, it's not Wendy, it's Windy. But she kind of gets her mood swings based on the direction that the wind is coming from. So if it's coming from the west, she kind of gets this warm, fuzzy feeling. If it's coming from the north and it's bringing a big snow, she feels like she can take on the world and she's super powerful, but maybe a little like overly aggressive. If it's coming from the south and it's really hot, it just means that like kind of change is coming and she's like feels anticipation. And if it's coming from the east, then it's kind of like anything can happen. It's like totally like up in the air. And she also has the power to like pollinate all of the wildflowers. And so that's Windy of the Wasatch.
see. We got a moss man. It has the ability to spout water and give nutrients to other creatures. Good at camouflaging and giving squishy hugs. Love it. I think I've.
Well, let me share my superhero. It's a person who's already been in. It's a real person who's been mentioned here. It's your grandfather, Ayja.
He is a superhero. Definitely. Absolutely a superhero. Lover of small birds and wildflowers, for sure. Him.
Rosy finches.
Yeah. I am going to really quickly just post, if anyone is interested in this grist magazine thing, submission, if anyone feels inspired, that's the link to it. Yeah.
Cool.
Ayja, can I ask you personally a question about the role of imagining in your practice?
Sorry, say that one more time.
I was wondering if I could ask you a question about the role of imagining in your own writing practice.
Mm-hmm.
I graduated from the EH program as well, and that's something that we talk a lot about in that program is the role of imagination. But I'm curious as to how you utilize imagination. I find that when I'm trying to imagine or create a new myth, I get stuck within my already existing boundaries, right? And I think that's what the exercise was today, was to get us outside of those spaces. And, you know, you clearly came up with these prompts for us, but I'm wondering like how you even conceived of those. What are some like constructs that you come up with to deconstruct your imaginings or your ways of perceiving things in your own writing?
Oh, geez, what a question.
Sorry, I'm just, this is a really great exercise, and I feel like I'm, like my creative juices are twirling, and I'm just really curious about your own creativity.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you're trying to write about an experience that you have had, sometimes it can just seem so, like if I just type it out word for word of like what I'm kind of thinking about in the moment, it's going to sound really bland on paper and like just really fall flat, and you're not going to come to the same types of conclusions as you would if you can really kind of like delve into the layers behind, you know, what you're talking about, the experience that you had. And a lot of times, even when you're in the moment and you're having an experience, writing about it and being able to kind of like delve deeper into the moment of what happened oftentimes just like opens up this world of possibilities of, you know, things that happen that you don't even realize in the moment. And I've heard this case about, you know, some of like the most famous nature writers of our time, kind of like Edward Abbey and Thoreau and all these people who had these experiences, and they weren't necessarily writing about the experiences in that moment. They may have been journaling, and they may have been like taking notes of what happened, but in order to really like let something settle within you and to realize like the kind of like the importance of it or the weight of it, you almost have to like remove yourself from that moment and then revisit it. And it's kind of the revisiting of that moment that lets your brain kind of like, or at least my brain, kind of like use its imagination to like explore like, what did this actually mean? What did this actually look like? You know, it's not like I go to a place and I'm like, oh, this stream is reflecting water like a chandelier, you know, or something. Like, I'm not in that moment saying that in the moment, but like afterwards, you know, you can kind of almost like pull yourself away from that moment and revisit it and let your imagination kind of like go. And I think that's a lot of times like where writers get their most like intense moments of like, I'm going to use this really unexpected word. And that's kind of why I threw in like chandelier, indigo. You know, I was kind of trying to like throw in some curveballs, like how do you use this? How do you incorporate this into like a place that you might not ever use this word? So hopefully that more or less answered the question, sort of.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other sharing out or questions for Ayja? And while maybe someone finds the unmute button, I did want to just, David Stein wrote, if you don't know where you're going, you'll probably end up somewhere else, which is very true. I mean, if you want to end up in a place, you definitely need to have a vision. And if you want to end up somewhere and don't have a plan, yeah, you're probably not going to get there.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Okay. Well, unless there are other questions or anything people want to share, I encourage you all to, you know, polish up what you have here, share it with us, share it with Ayja, and maybe even submit it to Grist and make a go of it, and you know, help people understand what the Wasatch is, what the Wasatch means, and what we think the Wasatch can be long after we're gone, and whomever is inhabiting this place, what we're going to leave behind for them.
Yeah, thank you everyone so much for tuning in. I hope you guys had fun and that this did spark some imagination and ways of moving forward.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, I had a blast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really
Thank you.
Really refreshing.
Yeah, thank you, Ayja. That was great.
Cool. Well, as I opened, I'll close. Please, you know, follow Ayja. Go to Save Our Canyon. Sign up for our newsletters. Take some of the actions to help protect the Wasatch, and don't forget to leverage your imagination, your passion, and help us forge that new myth for the Wasatch and what it means, and trying to define it as a community. I hope we can do this again with you, Ayja. This was really fun.
I love that.
This was great. Cool. All right. With that.
Oh, also one last thing. We have our third and last speaker series next week on the 31st, all about water with Laura Briefer and then Mike Dervis. So if you haven't registered for that event yet, you have to register for it separately than the one tonight. So hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow, or next Wednesday at 7:30 p.m.
Okay. Thank you again. Appreciate it.
Thanks everyone.
Bye.